Thank you.
Okay, bringing the meeting to order. Anyone for update agenda? How about public comment?
I have public comment myself.
Okay,
I'd like to be able to speak here until I'm done. I would like to have no interruptions. When I first came on the board, I thought it was going to be a boring thing. And over the years, I've really enjoyed being on this board because it really gets you involved in the community and the individualism of this community. I've was really taken aback when I saw the draft for the town of Guildhall. This draft really upset me. This draft, I believe, is overstepping boundaries that I've never seen before. I really believe that some of these things that Allison has been bringing to us has been good. I like to see the town center and how things were evolving around that. And when we first started talking about all this, one of my first concerns, and I raised my hand, and Mike answered me, and so did Allison, about how this was going to affect our zoning regulations that we have now. And I was assured at that time that we weren't going to change the zoning map. We maybe do a little bit of reclassifying, but that's as far as the conversation went. So now I'm getting this town of Guildhall rough draft, and I see what's going on in this draft, and I'm very upset over it. There's some things I agree with. I think it's good for the town. There's some things that I think is way stepping over the boundaries of our individualism of this community. I don't agree with it. I just received now this introduction to what is a plan. And there's some things in there that I just kind of skimmed over because this is the first time I see it, because I wasn't able to download it. There's some things here that I think is overstepping the bounds. We as a community, we worked on our town plan for over 6 months, and we had made changes that we thought were effective to the zoning regulations of this community. And then all of a sudden it stopped. And now we're at a point now where we're allowing, from what I can see, the state telling us of how we're going to write our zoning laws and how we're going to do all this stuff. And this is really upsetting me. And maybe I don't understand this. Maybe I'm overlooking this. But this is, I'm upset over this. I don't like the state telling me what we're going to have for laws for this town. We're supposed to be an individual. This is, Island Pond is what it is today because of the people in this community and how we want it to move forward. And now all of a sudden, and in the town of Guildhall, in the rural section, I see these tiers. And all of a sudden now, this is all coming together over these tiers of Act 181, tiers 1, 2, and 3. And some of those things are incorporated in this, and I don't like it. Especially, why should we divide rural into 3 different tiers? I don't understand that. We can add some things into it to allow some low-cost housing in those areas, but why do we have to have 3 separate tiers? I don't understand this. And maybe somebody should help me to understand it, because I don't. So, I mean, now I just got this introduction to this plan and all these laws now since 2013. I didn't have any clue that this stuff has been passed. Just like the people on Act 181 didn't know Tier 3 and what the state had passed and how it was affecting the communities. Just like in Guildhall's town plan, which I'm sure is going by the state regulations, you're looking at a farmer who has 10 kids and he has 150, 200 acres. and he's only allowed to separate his property into subdivisions only twice. But what if he wants to give 5 acres to each one of his kids? This won't allow you to do it. And it says it's his land. I don't understand what's going on. And I need some clarification and help to understand this, because right now, before we adopt anything that the state is pushing on us, that we should go line item by line item of our original town plan, which we worked hard on for 6 months, and go over what they expect from us. Do we have to swallow this? Is the state pushing us to do this? I'm confused. I'm confused, and I don't like all this paperwork that's coming down the pike now and telling us what a plan is. Well, we know what a plan is. We've been writing our own plan.
This is the
I had the floor, Mike. I have the floor. So I want to be able to speak here, and this is what I'm getting upset about. And I've talked to other people, and they feel that, why should we decide for the community? I think the community should have some say in this. I think we should have a subcommittee before we draw up a new town plan for this subcommittee to say, yeah, this is a good idea. Let's go with that. I don't like what's happening here. And maybe I don't understand it. But we haven't been really explained to us what was coming down the pike. And that's why I'm getting upset. I don't like this. And I've had my say now. I won't bring it up again. But I think that we need some explanation here, because this is getting in too deep. And now it's almost like we as a town have to accept a state's boilerplate of a zoning plan. And I don't like that. That gets rid of the individualism of this community. We should be able to decide if we want Farmer Joe here down the road to be able to subdivide his family a 5-acre lot out of 500 acres that he owns. I'm all for that. It's his kids. It's his land. Why should the state tell us that we can't do that? So this is where I'm coming from. And if Allison can help us down the road here when we start working on our town plan, but I just wanted to make everybody understand where I'm coming from. So thank you for the floor, and I appreciate it.
So I'm kind of confused by some of your statements. Were you looking at the Guildhall Unified Development Regulations? Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, but
Which
let
is
me
based
finish.
on the state statute.
Please let me finish. So the town of Guildhall contacted me because they wanted to adopt subdivision regulations. And they wanted to adopt subdivision regulations because their zoning typically runs along roadways. So it might run like 500 feet from the center of the roadway. So they have very deep lots, and they do have developers who are coming along and creating multiple parcels out of really deep lots. And they were also concerned about, in some cases, they were doing this in land that didn't have road access. So typically, when you have a lot that doesn't have road frontage and you don't have subdivision regulations, you have a process in site plan review where you approve an easement. And that's what your regulations currently have. However, for some reason, they didn't even allow for site plan review. So the first thing we did was allow a process for site plan review that allowed for an easement for development on a back lot. But then they also wanted full-fledged subdivision regulations if they were creating private roads that were entering town roads. So we went through that whole process, and then they wanted to identify ways to simplify the subdivision process. So we said, well, the obvious one is if you're just going to be moving the lot line, that doesn't need to involve the zoning board of adjustment. So we'll let the zoning administrator handle that. And due to a statutory change back in 2023, they were also allowed to give the zoning administrator more authority to approve subdivisions. So they said, okay, well, we could do a simple subdivision of a lot. Like if you're just taking a lot and dividing it into two lots, then it just goes to the zoning administrator. Let's not make them go to the zoning board of adjustment. So we were like, okay. And I said, now you also have the option to determine if you have a really major subdivision that involves multiple lots or planned unit development, you could ask for like a preliminary plat before you approve the final plat. So we decided, and this was a back and forth with the planning commission, we decided that, okay, we could do 4 lots to do just final subdivision review, but then skip the preliminary plat. And then more than 4 lots or planned unit development, then we could do a preliminary plan review. So we updated all of that. Then they also had flood hazard regs, and they also hadn't been updated in a long time. And technically, there were some things in there that were incorrect. They were calling what is the area outside of the floodway, what is typically called the flood fringe, where the water just sits. That's part of the floodplain. They were calling that the fluvial erosion zone, like the river corridor, and that's not the correct terminology. So we cleaned up that terminology, and we tried to provide some illustrations in the bylaws that explained what the difference is. And then we also developed a flow chart. So if we wanted to make it as clear as possible. So if somebody was proposing a subdivision of land, they'd be able to tell from the flow chart whether or not they just had to go to the ZA or whether they needed to go to the zoning board of adjustment, and whether it was going to be treated as a minor or a major. But all of those things were done at their volition. There's no mention of tiers in their subdivision regulations, and so I'm not sure where that's coming from.
But you understand my concern here.
Well, I'm trying to understand your concern, but there's no mention of tiers in the Guildhall subdivision regulations. There's none whatsoever.
I mean, this stuff that we just got today on energy permits and state highway permits and shoreline protection and all this.
That was Allison sent us. That's just all the updated regs that came out from the state over the
Is
last.
that something we have to adopt?
Well, it's stuff that we have to take into account when we're doing our zoning
Okay.
to make sure we meet it.
So
But
that
she just
goes
sent
back-
us those are right.
13 years.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's why I said that when we start writing up our final town plan, that we need to go line item by line item to see what changes we want to adopt.
But we're working
Now,
on
we
the
gotta-
plan now.
Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
In the zoning bylaw.
Yeah.
They're two different
So-
documents.
that's
Yeah.
correct. But I'm
So, but-
talking about the zoning bylaw.
Can
I
I
mean,
add another point here? And that matrix was developed because every year the legislature makes tweaks to statute. And most of our communities don't update their zoning regs every year. So if they're making a change somewhere, then we tried to come up with this matrix so that they could look at that and say, oh, okay, well, I need to take care of this. So you're looking at 13 years of statutory changes. It was an attempt that I made to summarize the changes. Joel sent me a draft update of your zoning regulations sometime back, and
Yes?
he'd already caught most of those.
Mhm.
He'd already caught most of those. That's just a reference document that I was hoping it would be helpful for anybody who was working on zoning bylaw updates. And we could just update it every year so that people could look at it and say, oh, if I'm going to be making changes, I might want to look back at, a change that was adopted back in 2014.
Because
May I add that
That's all it is.
when I was working on the bylaw, that was a nice, useful piece of information to have. Thank you, Allison.
Thanks.
But there's things in there that I haven't incorporated that I didn't know when I was working on that, which is why our zoning bylaw hasn't progressed further than it has. There are some things that still need to be added.
Mhm.
So are you telling me, Joel, that some of these things that we're not gonna be required to incorporate in our zoning laws? Or do we, I mean, the
Well,
thing that we just got,
I'm not sure what you're talking about. Which things?
well, here's one thing, energy permits for certificates of occupancy. I mean,
No.
Bruce isn't gonna be able to handle that. In order to do some of this stuff that's in here, you gotta be an attorney.
We'll-
So that was,
we
I think
will-
you're talking about something that was passed in 2014. And if you issue certificates of occupancy, the applicant just needs to show that they've complied with the state energy requirements. It's a self-reported certificate. They fill it out themselves. And
Okay,
again, it's self-reported, and there's an exception if it's an owner build. It does not
I mean,
require an extra
all these,
visit to the site.
all these changes, Allison, you must have to agree, it's overwhelming. And I don't know what we're going to adopt and not adopt. I mean, from what I saw,
Mark.
that what the town did of Guildhall, I mean, holy cow, I mean. the
So what I
people-
did with
that
the
is-
town of Guildhall
their
is
choice.
we
No, no, I understand
started.
that, and that's what I'm trying to get at.
Okay, but
is
let me finish, because
how much of this do we have to follow?
I think that you're conflating this with Act 181 and a lot of other things, and that's not the case. So when I worked with Guildhall, I was working on their regulations, not their town plan. So the first thing we did, I said, look, you haven't updated your regs since 2013. So we should do a review and catch anything that does pertain to your zoning. And I will do it in red line, and then I will provide footnotes. So that way, if you have any questions about the statute, then we can talk about it.
Okay.
So we
this
did
is-
that.
So you're gonna help us with that too?
I'm working with you on your town plan.
Yeah, but the zoning stuff also falls into play with all of this.
But the zoning is a separate
Al-
document. We've got a grant that she's working on to do our town plan,
Yeah, right.
not to do our
No,
zoning.
I understand that, but.
But Allison was
they're
always,
all in- they're all intertwined, Mike.
They are,
Allison
but
is always available for zoning. Whenever a zoning administrator has a question for Allison, she's always there. So it's not, that's just a service that NVDA provides up to a certain point. I mean, but we use her always as the knowledgeable person if we have a zoning question. Now, she's not going to go through the whole process of adopting our zoning bylaw, without some kind of contract with NVDA, but we know how to do that.
Well, yes.
And we
I
have other
guarantee you,
staff, oops, sorry.
I
We have other
guarantee you-
staff planners who are cross-trained in this as well.
I'm just wondering then why are we giving these statutory changes for the zoning? If we're working on our own zoning plan, why are we getting?
just gave that to us as a reference document, Mark.
I
That's
re-
all. It was
but-
not a demand that you had to
I
do
don't, I
anything with.
know that, but it's kind of overwhelming us.
It's
So
not.
I shared
I
it-
asked her for that.
Okay.
I asked her for a copy of a draft of
Yeah,
what's
but you
what
see, you didn't-
subdivision.
You didn't tell us this, and we're
I
getting.
did it at the meeting. You were here. I asked her for a copy of somebody's subdivision regs because we keep talking about it, but I don't believe that any of us have seen any of
Yeah.
them. That's why I asked for
Okay.
it. It was not a mandate for you to go and adopt Guildhall's.
No, I didn't say we had
plan.
to.
And this was a reference document that she said she'd send to us.
I only saw what they
But
did.
you stand up here and then lambast everybody because
I'm
we
not
gave you
lambasting
information.
anybody. I'm just
You're
getting
not required to
overwhelmed.
Do anything, Mark.
I I just don't understand why we're getting all this stuff with zoning when it's the town plan we're working on.
Right. She said she would just send it to us.
Okay.
It was just it was
Nothing to do with.
ignore it. If you can't keep them separate, ignore it. Just
Yeah.
throw it away.
Okay. No, I'm just, you have to understand where I'm coming from. We're getting all this stuff sent to us. And wow, are we supposed to incorporate this? I mean, I just don't understand what's going. What about
Okay,
you?
we're working on town plan right now. So let's
Okay.
just skip all of your zoning questions.
Okay.
Let's move on.
okay.
We'll be here all night.
Thank you.
That's
So
fine.
can I just, what, the reason we've been talking about subdivision regulations.
Did you understand all this? No. No, neither did I.
Okay, the reason that we've been talking about subdivision regulations is that you all wanted to pursue a partial exemption of Act 250 in your village center, and you could extend that exemption in the neighborhood areas around the village center. So you remember when Liam came up here and we went through a map, we produced a map and it showed, well, if you were to adopt subdivision regulations, this is what your Act 250 exemption area might look like. That's what we're aiming for here. And that was the only reason we were talking about subdivision regulations. And that Act 250 exemption would be a very important part of your land use plan.
And also for low cost housing.
Exactly.
That I understand. I understand all that. It's
Okay,
just
so
that
that's what
we-
sparked the
we keep going
conversation
off
about
topic a little bit.
subdivision
I'm getting confused.
regulations. Okay, but that's what sparked the conversation about subdivision regulations. And like the town of Guildhall, if you were to adopt subdivision regulations, it would be your choice to do so.
Okay.
If you chose to not adopt subdivision regulations, you would not be, be able to get that, like that, but they call that Tier 1B exemption to Act 250. But again, that's your choice. And when you're talking about tiers, there is the only tier that really is now is that Tier 1. Because the Tier 3 rulemaking went away. That was repealed.
Correct.
And the road rule for what was going to be known as Tier 2 has also been repealed.
Yep.
So the only thing left from Act 181 is that Tier 1B area. Now, if you're looking at either of those zoning documents, you're not going to see any discussion of tiers in there. Because the irony is Guildhall is going to the trouble to adopt these subdivision regs, but it's only because they are facing some development pressures and they really had some confusion about how to handle them. Even though they would technically qualify for Tier 1B exemption, they don't want it. They just did it because they felt that they needed it for the clarity.
Okay. No, I just, this town of Guildhall thing that you gave us to look at, I just thought that was the route that we were going to start taking, and I got upset about it. I just didn't like it.
Well, what do you not like about Guildhall's regs?
Well, some of the regs are identical to the regs that we have in our own zoning stuff. And there's some things that I highlighted in there that I just thought it was too restrictive. It's going to keep people from wanting to move there.
But again, what's in their regs is also, it reflects their choices.
Yeah, that's their
And
choice.
They
And
have they have like a design control district, and you don't, for
Oh,
example.
I just wanted to, now you've answered quite a few of my questions just now with that one statement.
Okay,
That helps me a lot. So that now I know where we're all standing now. It wasn't really
Okay.
clarified before. I'm sorry, but it was
Okay.
not clarified.
okay.
And I had nothing against you, Allison. I mean,
No, I don't, believe
some of
me, I
your
don't take this
ideas, some of
personally.
your ideas have been great, and I followed them right through, and I agree with them. But I just,
Well, I don't take this personally. I just want to make sure that there's no misunderstanding.
that's why
If
I want.
adopt subdivision regulations,
Because
it
I'm
will
not
be
the only one that
town's
was
choice.
confused here. Some other people have expressed concern also. So
Okay,
that's why I was willing to stand up and say what I said. So
okay,
I appreciate it.
Okay, so we're moving on.
Yep.
Next topic, anything, are we talking on the town plan here?
Town plan,
Town plan?
town plan.
So how do we start that? Like, how do we have a kind of an introduction here? Are we going, following that? Are we moving into these other regulations?
Well, this is the first time I've seen this, so.
Yeah, well,
Um,
I'm not sure how we start.
so, well, it's Allison is the one, I guess. Allison?
Do you want me to I can share the screen and just tell you what I
Yep.
did?
Yes,
and
yeah.
why?
Yes.
Yeah, 'cause
Okay.
That'd be fine.
I got the paperwork, but it would be nice to see there too.
Yep, yep. So the introduction was a chance to cue up some of the major ideas that we were hearing there. A lot of this in the first section called "What is a Plan?" actually comes. It's a lot of it's actually lifted from your existing plan. If you're going to be looking at this, comparing it line for line, this stuff doesn't just come out of the blue. In other words. We did try to in this introduction where it talks about the town plan and why it's needed, we also wanted to talk about the other benefits that don't involve regulations, such as the village center designation. And that's something that you've had in place for more than 20 years now. And it also allows you to access grants like the Better Connections grant that you got a couple of years ago. And then it also it provides guidance on projects that actually do trigger Act 250 or Section 248 hearings. And those are reviews of grid connected energy projects. Like your previous plan, I am assuming that you are going to write an energy plan that would give you that same heightened consideration from the Public Utilities Commission. That's because grid connected renewable energy projects are exempt from zoning, but if you want to have a heightened standing in the review process, then you would have an enhanced energy plan. So I'm seeing a hand up. What's the question?
Well, Mike, didn't,
Oh, I think that's, did somebody raise a hand?
no, I didn't.
There's a hand raised.
I don't think that's real. I think
Okay.
it's a thing where on
Okay.
Zoom saw somebody raise a hand and because it's saying it's us.
Okay.
Now, we as a town, aren't we getting a special deal through our solar project that we allowed? Aren't we getting something in
Yeah, we
line
do
with
get
that?
that. We do get credits on our electric bills for that.
Yes.
So should that be mentioned in that town plan?
In the energy section, absolutely.
Okay,
What was it? We should write it down so that we remember we're doing it.
And we might want to add that to the timeline too. Okay. So then the greatest, probably the greatest advantage is actually a long range vision. And again, it's hopefully an inclusive process that invites everybody to participate. We are assuming that this is a complete draft and we've gone through the entire planning process. But our scope of work also includes a couple of other publicly warned meetings once we have a draft ready. So I know you've had a meeting on the planned infrastructure upgrades, but oh shoot, we're also going to have a meeting on the local economy and housing. And then we've also referenced the survey that we distributed where we yielded 146 responses. So that brings us, and we just mentioned here that we're going to call those out in like call out boxes where we feel that it's relevant to highlight those, but we could also attach the full survey responses as an appendix to the plan if you're so inclined. Then any questions about page one? So I can go on?
Yep.
Okay. So the main thing here, and this was also stated in the municipal planning grant application, your town is facing some pretty complex infrastructure challenges. You have a wastewater project where you've managed to close up the gap, and then you've got some important choices to be made about water and also the downtown crossing, because if that would be implemented at the same time, but that has also been a long time coming. So we've also talked about, I'm sorry?
I just coughed.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought somebody was cutting in and out of the audio and it was just breaking up. We've also talked about the cost of water and sewer and the cost to the taxpayers of doing infrastructure upgrades in the village. And one way to reduce that burden is to find ways to, wherever possible, to increase density in and immediately adjacent to areas around Island Pond, in neighborhoods around Island Pond. And when we talk about the village or in the core, we're talking about the village and the surrounding neighborhood areas. So this plan, therefore, is going to be intended to identify new opportunities for residential infill, but as well as permitting and regulatory barriers that we think we should address. So in some cases, there are some fixes that you could make to your zoning bylaws, where zoning, it might be unintentionally getting in the way of housing. And then the other big discussion is Act 250 exemption for housing. Any questions?
Act 51. No. Anyone?
No,
So this I've lifted from your plan. That's your history.
Yep.
It did update your census. It does show, you are losing population, but you seem to be losing population faster and slightly quicker in Island Pond than the rest of the community, which
You
is
need to
troubling.
edit out, you need to edit out the Island Pond Historical Society and Museum is not in the depot anymore.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
yep,
It's at Ted's Market, right?
Right.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't exactly put it that way, but
Yeah.
we
The
know what you
Historical
mean.
Society
Yeah,
Museum.
it's changed.
It's not in the depot anymore.
However, in the historic and scenic places, and historic assets, we do want to remember to talk about how it's come up a couple of times how, there must be a better place for the historical society than a modern steel building. Okay, good catch. So, and again, these are all just like the major challenges that we have, but also that you've accomplished a lot in recent years. And this goes back to this segues into that planning timeline that led to improvements that might have cascaded into other improvements and then beyond there. So the planning timeline, I think graphically, we were trying to use photos and try to treat it as more more telegraphic so that it would be written in present tense. But you can see there are some areas that I still need help on background information. Yep.
It's occurred to me that while we're looking at the meetings that we still haven't had, that we have to have the housing and stuff that you were talking about.
Yeah,
We've had these big town community-wide meetings about every 10 years.
yeah,
We had Take Charge, we had
yeah,
we've had three of them. We had VCRD was the last one. That's now 10
Yeah.
years ago.
yeah, and they're all referenced here.
So, well, would it be worth our while to try to have one of those again and combine it with the necessary meetings for the that you're talking about here? Have that as a,
Absolutely.
and that way we could tell the town what has been happening as a result of their last visioning session, what the
Yep.
initiatives have been taken, and do they still want to hopefully do that or whatever. Anyway, just a thought that maybe it's time.
No,
to
I think it's a really great thought because you seem to do like these big visioning sessions like every 10 years and you'd be right on time to do it again. So it would be great to have a convening that not only focuses on what's happened last time, but focuses on the key challenges you see going forward. In your scope of work, you had highlighted economic development as well. Even though we've spent a lot of time talking about housing and removing barriers to housing, but I think that we could combine both into like a big visioning session. And once we have a reasonable working copy of the core draft of the plan, we could consider doing that. We don't even have to have the whole plan in place, but maybe like the land use section, economic development section, housing section. That would be great. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, there is stuff in here about,
Yeah.
designation, receiving the designation. There's information in here about Take Charge Brighton. There's, the, sidewalk study, the Island Pond Welcome Center being built. Stantec doing, a study to look at connections to the Lakeshore Plan. The Opera Block with its, restoration project. The community visit. Wow, it's starting to storm here. Sorry. Oh,
Yeah,
get the door. Can you get the door?
Yeah.
Thanks. Then the revitalization plan that you paid for with Better Connections. And that's a super helpful reference that wherever possible, we try to incorporate it into this plan. Then the scoping study for the downtown transportation infrastructure that also includes the water main and stormwater. The Downtown Transportation Board giving you an award. Also, their wastewater
I need to
treatment
update
plant
you on that
upgrade.
one, Allison, because that dollar amount I don't think is right.
The dollar amount isn't
Yeah,
118,
that
$400.
it was updated, it was amended because it's over 200,000.
Okay, so I'm just gonna mark this for get the right number.
I'll get it to you because I've got the grant
Yeah.
document.
so under the, you've got, and couldn't find information. The VORAC
Yeah,
website only goes back, that was the dock. That was the town dock.
dock. Okay, let me go back and find that oh, it was over here. Okay, do you know what year?
Probably around two.
Well, I can find it. I've got it. I've got it in my,
Yeah, we got it.
Oh, I see okay, all right.
because I think
Okay.
wasn't there something else in that too? It was the dock? What else did we do that year? There was
The
something
map,
else.
the big
The
map,
map,
the
yeah.
Bluff Mountain Trail, and something else. And is the playground in there?
No,
No, no,
that was-
playground was paid for under ARPA.
That was
But it's-
a,
And we
looks
do
like a
have the ARPA,
VSDP
we
grant
have,
to build.
But still, I
We're-
mean, it was a project that we did.
Yeah, we have in 2021.
Oh, yeah, our left.
That the town used ARPA funds to revitalize the playground. So what year are we looking at for the Vorak grant? What approximate year?
I'm gonna guess 19 or 20 is my guess. I have the grant documents on that. I'll get it for you right after the meeting.
Okay,
I got it right here.
Okay.
2020.
2020?
Yep.
What was that one for?
The
Okay,
dock and the map for the Bluff Mountain Trail.
and a map.
Right.
The map
It's
hanging
like
in
for the
the,
public.
it's a regional recreation map that's interactive. I don't know how it's doing, but Paul Chambers put that all together, got a grant to do that. You can go on there and click on things and see things. I don't know. I forget how it all
Oh,
works.
Yeah, it's built
So I'll
into
look it
the
up.
Brighton Recreation website, and we have the actual hard copy of it is at the Welcome Center. Because it was a two-prong. It had a big printed one that's framed and everything, and then there's the online version that you can.
okay.
Did we not in our old town plan mention recreation, snowmobiling? I don't see it here. Am
This
I
is
missing
just in the
something?
intro.
This is just the intro.
Yeah.
Plan.
This is the intro?
Yeah, this is just the
Yeah.
intro.
Okay.
This is not the
Because
plan.
I didn't see anything mentioned for recreation.
No, that's, yeah.
That'll be coming.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
So the building and general services grant for tennis courts. That was mentioned.
That'd be a Joel question. That's before me.
God, that was
Still,
years
still
ago.
waiting.
That was years ago. I'd have to look it up.
Has to be done for.
We'll go in your filing cabinet, Joel. I bet it's in here.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Okay, the town garage, was it built in 1991?
I'm going to assume
1891. Oh, that's the one she wants to know. Okay.
How was it built? Using what funds? Just taxpayer
Town.
funds?
Town
Oh, the
funds.
tank, the gas. Oh, yeah.
that's now turned
Oh, okay.
$40,000.
I think the fire station was soon after the town
Did it
garage.
leak?
Right?
So the town garage is 1991?
Somewhere's there.
Yeah, I think, it's right around then. Because I just had to look that up.
Okay,
1994.
1994 was the fire station or the town garage?
Town garage. I have a picture.
Ah,
19.
you do have a picture? Can I have it?
Wait a minute. I don't have a picture. Hold on. I probably do. I probably actually do have a picture, but I'm not sure the one I have is at that time frame.
Okay,
Fire
That's
station-
Marty during the
Before-
construction.
Fire station was just before year 2000.
so sometime
Figured out
late
last year.
1990s?
Yeah,
No, it was a 15-year. We did the fire station with a 15-year payoff period, so I think it had to be done after 2000.
Yeah, it would have to have been
2005.
actually maybe a little later than that because it was paid off year before last. This is the second year without a payment on that. So
2010?
yeah, somewhere in that range, 2009 maybe.
I can look it up. Where it would first show up in one of the town reports when we first had to start making a payment.
Yep.
Okay. Are they on your website too? How far do your town reports go back?
plans, only go back to not that far.
Okay,
It'll be easier for me to look it up. I'll look it up.
okay, so can I assume that the town garage and the fire station were both built with, local bonds?
Yes.
Okay.
We should have got money from the surrounding towns that we served, but we didn't. We do now.
Right. When did that start?
Uh, after the UTGs got started?
After the unorganized towns and gores became the
Right.
UTGs?
After the unagonized towns and gores.
Yeah.
Because we used to get $19,000 a year paid to all the organized towns in Essex County because of the power line revenue
Mm-hmm.
by statute. And then when the unified towns and gores didn't like paying that money, they decided they wanted to be their own government instead of being run by the supervisor of Essex County. And so they organized, and then we told them that, hey, listen, you come over here and use our library. You come over here and use our buildings, our services, our parks. And guess what? We supply you with coverage for your fire protection so you can have insurance. So you're going to pay
Okay.
us. Right. So you're going to pay us, and they do.
Okay.
They didn't like it, but we sued them.
Oh, ouch. Hey, that's really good to know for the section about adjacent communities where we usually just put in like happy verbiage.
Hmm.
So that's helpful to know. There was a VCDP grant to build a playground, establish a revolving loan fund, and hire a coordinator for microlending.
Yep, that was 1992, I think.
Okay.
Shortly after I started work, 1991 or 92.
Okay. Do you have an idea of the ballpark figure?
Well, it was a
47,000.
$250,000 maybe.
Probably. Okay.
We set up a loan fund of $200,000. The school built a playground for $11,000, and we tried to build an ice rink and actually did do the construction for an ice rink in the downtown park. It never got used because the snowmobiles had to park their snow there.
Uh, okay. But that was
So I
back when
think it
you
was
could do
around
something with a lot of money. You could do a lot with 250,000.
at the time. Yeah, might have
Yeah.
been a little more than that, but I think it was around that.
So I'm assuming that all the funds were obligated from the micro lending program and paid back?
Uh, we we got back. We only made one loan,
Uh-huh.
and that was to the Buck and Doe when
Okay.
when this fellow bought it,
That's a long time ago.
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
he paid back $8,000 of, I forget how much we loaned him,
Okay.
but it was a lot. And he paid back $8,000 before he went belly up, and we used that
Okay.
$8,000 to start a microloan program. And we made maybe 4 loans for $1,500 from it because we thought that was, remember, you have to use that money in accordance with their rules and regs, and we couldn't use it
Yeah.
for just anything. So we used it for microloans, and we made 3 or 4 of them for $1,500 or so, and some of them got paid back and some of them didn't.
Okay. The walking path funded by NVRC.
Right, 2000, I don't know the dates in the sidewalk. I'll have to get back to you.
Yeah, I did an extensive search on this one and I reached out to their their staff and I tried to find something on their website. I couldn't find anything, but if we don't get everything, that's great, but it's fine, but it would be nice to be able to show, what has happened. Finally, the solar project. When was the solar project established and where can I get that information?
Oh, let me look up what I've got because it's only been
3 years.
Yeah, 3 years, but I think we've only been getting credits for
Started last year.
Yeah.
This is the second year.
Um,
And
I can get you the information on that, though. I think I have it.
Okay. So when you get the credits, I'm just assuming that it helps to underwrite your operations.
It does, it does.
Yeah, that,
It's credited to our electric bills.
that's the one off of Meadow Street,
Street.
not the other one.
How about, so this isn't really town, but it's related. So the Brighton Community Forum has received, got over $1 million in grant funding from USDA RBDG through the last 9 years. Is that something we should include?
Yes,
Or-
and we should include it here. Um,
Because that's what's
Right
funded
here.
all of our economic development work.
yeah. So this million funds totaling $1 million.
I
A
can give
million?
you, it's over $1 million that we brought in over there through that.
Was it just from USDA or other orgs?
Well, I've gotten other grants as well, but USDA is, I think we're over $1 million with just USDA now.
Okay,
We used to get Tillotson every year as well from New Hampshire. And then we used to
Okay.
get, we got some smaller ones in the beginning stages.
okay, good, okay. All right. So, we'll flesh this out and then work that back in. So we're going on to environmental benefit and burden. So your existing plan talks about the statewide planning goals. And you have always referenced them in your plan and taking them seriously. And you've also, in your existing plan, which I really like, you also reference the general goals of the planning process, where you create a coordinated process, but you try to engage with as many people as possible. You work to develop and implement the plan. Then in 2024, there was a new planning goal added to statute, and it means to equitably distribute environmental benefits and burdens. So, in other words, everyone has to enjoy equal access to the same assets. And you can't single out groups of people to be stuck with burdens, like such as cost or like flood risk. You can't say, let's put all of the trailer parks in the floodplain. So, I mean, that's really basic and really simple, but, so we've tried to start articulating that here. The first two are things that are actually voiced in our proposed regional plan. So the first one is we talked about environmental protection and its relationship with regulation, but we also acknowledge that our economy depends very heavily on small scale and self-employment. So we want to make sure that we're not disproportionately burdening the self-employed and the small employers with high permitting costs. So when in our regional plan, we ask that municipalities consider income sensitivity when amending their municipal regulations. It felt like something that would be relevant to Brighton, so I attempted to articulate it here.
I like that.
Okay. The other one, and again, remember, we have concerns about lands that have an elevation of 2,000 feet or more. And we try to protect them from any large-scale commercial and industrial development that would create protrusions into the ridge lines that can be seen from multiple communities. Would result in fragmentation of wildlife corridors to the point where we're harming linkage. A lot of these concerns stem from the regional plan's opposition to utility scale wind. So again, considering that you have in the past adopted an enhanced energy plan that would give you heightened standing in the Section 248 process, and you don't support utility scale wind, I thought that this would be relevant.
That should include our watershed, which is well above 1,000 feet.
So what would you say about our watershed? From a environmental benefit and burden standpoint?
They should be protected because that's, I mean, this, we should, I know that we've had a little bit of problems there this past year where they logged in there and it was kind of muddying up the waters to our Mountain Street
Uh-huh.
plant. But I don't know how much the town, we as a town can prevent something like that. I don't know what the course, what our course could be to try to remediate problems like that in the future.
Well, if you are, for example, clear cutting a higher elevation lands and you're removing the tree cover that could attenuate those waters from coming down and carrying sediment into your bodies of water, that feels like it's an important concern. Okay.
That it is.
We've had problems with it.
Yeah, we did have problems with
Yeah.
that this year.
Not so much Pleasant Street, but Mountain Street.
Mountain Street?
Yeah, it was the north plan. But that just happens to be where they clear cut above it last year, wasn't it, or year before?
They started the year before and they finished this winter.
Um,
And what elevation was that clear cutting?
Well, I'm at 1,100 feet. I'd say 2,000, 2,500.
Oh, so it was at 2,000 feet.
yeah, I believe so. It was above our water treatment thing, above our streams up there. So I could probably look on a map and figure it out.
Sure. If you, so what I'll do is I'll work this into, it's just gonna paraphrase it now and then I'll work it in. So it was clear cutting above your water sources.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the last one, and this was, if you looked at the survey responses, I know we've always talked about, building a recreation tourism economy, and I know that it's important. And I wanted to make sure that, some people kept saying things like, well, we need to do this for the people who live here all the time. And I don't want that sentiment to degrade into an us versus them mentality. But it's just a reminder, as it says here at the end of the first paragraph, that Brighton has to remain a safe and livable community for all. So and a good place to understand where where sometimes people differ is over here. We showed, we asked residents, oh, I need to fix this. I need to remove the negative signs. They somehow ended up back again in this graphic. I produced this in Word and they weren't there. And when I uploaded it into Google Docs, they came back. So I'll just pretend those negative symbols aren't there. But you can see like 88 like of the resident responses, they cared more about housing opportunities than non-residents, obviously, and affordability, and having a strong local school, being a great place for startup businesses, being able to age in place. They kind of tighten up in being like safe for walkers, and they're kind of get somewhat closer about, having year-round recreation. But again, like building that social capital, like having a community that cares, that was pretty important to residents. Having a vibrant downtown, they're pretty much, everybody's in agreement. And stewardship of the lake, they're all within striking range. So it's just it doesn't mean that any of these parts of the long range vision are less important than others. But if you want to have a livable community, and it's also a destination, it also, you want to have a sense of authenticity. Like people actually live there, they can stay there, they can age in place. So they all do kind of go together. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. So I thought that this was a way, this at least was a way to talk about that without igniting an argument between different people. So then from there, with those considerations for environmental benefit and burden, then we start into the vision for Brighton. And this first sentence actually comes from your existing plan. However, it doesn't articulate how you're going to achieve that. Like, how are you going to ensure that your community remains a vibrant place for generations to come? So I attempted to add some priorities here. Maintaining the natural environment. And again, everybody seemed to be in agreement that the integrity of the lake was really important. Having recreational opportunities in transforming the village of Island Pond into a walkable, thriving center. The other thing that these three priorities do is they kind of they build on what is kind of a matrix called maintain and improve and transform. So you identify the things that you want to keep. That's where you maintain. And you identify the things that are good, but you need to improve on them. And then you identify the big picture. What do you like? What are the big things that you really like, transformative things that you need to do? So that was my attempt to articulate a vision statement. And this vision statement would resonate through all of the following, the remaining chapters.
The only thing I'm wondering if we should beef up a little bit more is discussion about expanding employment opportunities beyond just tourism.
Okay.
Only because if we wanted to pursue anything grant wise in the future, if it's not in the town plan, it's really hard because they always ask that. Please show us where you have considered this in your planning process.
Excuse me.
And so I think adding something in there, if we wanted to pursue something, I think there should be a little something about that we could like let John to and say, yes, we did consider that. Because housing is great, but if people don't have a place to work, it doesn't, we could build all the housing in the world. They're not gonna be able to afford to buy it. So I kind of see that as they kind of have to go hand in hand. And so I think we probably need to put a little something on there.
Okay, that's helpful. So what if we said livability also involves creating more employment opportunities that could be, that go beyond the tourism and hospitality sector?
That works.
Okay,
Yep.
and I think that there are some statements, some open-ended comments from the survey that could also reiterate some of those.
Yeah, I saw you'd put it in there that it was one of the other considerations that people had brought up. So that's
Yeah.
why I just thought it should be, if we're gonna put it in the vision statement, we should include something about that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, this is great because this is the kind of feedback I was hoping to get. Okay. So this is where we go, we also talk about pursuing Act 250 exemptions. And we can get into greater detail, like the devil is in the details in the land use section, but a lot of it is, all of it is hinging on the ability to adopt subdivision regs, but I think it's an important part of your vision. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I think that's it.
Okay.
So we got through 10 pages.
Hallelujah.
So I'm going to stop sharing.
I have one little thing to add.
Mhm.
We have the senior housing over here by the lake.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the ones that are guilty of this. I never think of the low-cost housing units that are off of Mountain Street. And a lot of people don't think that we have that here in town, and we do. We have low-cost housing between Back Street and Mountain Street there, that up in that area, that is, government funded. They get a stipend from the government depending on their income, and it's a kind of out of the way of the eyes of the town. And I think a lot of people forget that we have that here.
Yeah. Well, we could certainly in the housing plan, we could talk about, and I think you have in previous iterations. I don't know how I'm gonna get back to the screen because now all of a sudden I can't see you. No, it's just
it's
tiny.
just something that I have found.
Yeah.
People seem to
It's-
forget we have.
There
it's-
should be like a little
Don't know
arrow
what's there.
maximize your
You
screen.
didn't know it? Oh yeah, we have low cost housing.
Well, yeah, Gilman Housing.
Yeah, and a lot of
Yeah.
people don't know it's
There we
there.
go. Yeah,
And it's too bad because we do have it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they're all full.
Oh, I know they're all.
People know. Oh, trust me, they know.
it's probably a waiting list.
Well, not only
Um,
that.
I know, yeah, there's a
I'm
waiting
listening.
list.
It is something I
Um,
think when we're working on the housing section and we're talking targets, I don't know that looking at trying to entice somebody else to do another Sunrise Manor kind of facility would not be,
That
would be,
nice.
I think that would be a worthwhile endeavor for the town to pursue somebody to do, because that housing is what people need right now.
Yeah,
That's the kind of housing they need.
like subsidized.
Well, not necessarily just subsidized, but for senior housing opportunities. There's
Mhm.
when you get to a certain age and you can't take care of
Yeah.
a house anymore, there's only 23 units over or 20 units over there, isn't there?
Yeah.
22, isn't it?
Yeah.
22.
Somewhere
But
it's right around 20.
there's,
22.
they've got a couple on Mountain Street. There's 4 on Mountain Street, and then there's some.
It's 18,
quite a
no,
few of
19.
them.
The senior housing,
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Drive.
I know,
It's on Mountain Street.
I know there's some up on Mount Street, but I thought they were just regular low income housing.
Yeah, I was suggesting for like senior kind of
Yeah,
housing,
well-
only because we have an aging population. It just
Well,
seems like
yeah,
that
yeah.
would be a
Those
worthwhile
are seniors, there's seniors in
goal
there.
for us to set.
The seniors on, yeah, I think, yeah, right. And I don't know, you'd have to ask Melinda for sure, but I think,
But
I mean, I don't see
a
young
lot of
couples.
people in the town forget it's there, I think.
Yeah.
No,
No?
trust me, there's a waiting list.
Okay.
So,
There's like. What you name?
when you're talking
better
about
put it in
aging
there.
in place, I think the size of the unit really matters too.
Yeah,
And those are often hard to come by, so.
yeah, a lot of them are just 1 bedroom. Because we're seniors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Come on.
Okay, are we all done with this discussion? Anything else to add? All right, then moving on, Bruce did tell me that he wasn't gonna be able to make it tonight, so we'll just go on to, I can't believe, approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meetings.
Have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
I was here.
Anybody wanna do, anything for other business?
Yeah, the walk path grant was applied for in 2011, so I presume it was probably built in 2012. And that was an NBRC grant. We got a grant for the depot roof in 2018 from Historic Preservation. And I don't know, did you have the big stormwater project in there where we combined 3 culverts into one to dump it into the lake and built the wetlands? That was
Wasn't that part of the 2004 grant?
it was an ecosystem restoration project.
I don't know.
And I think it was, I have to look it up exactly, but I think it was 348,000 maybe or something like that. We had 3 culverts. We were dumping all the water from downtown's drainage, stormwater drainage, went into 3 culverts and all 3 went into the lake. And we used the grant to put those pipes all together and buried these huge tanks in the town park between the town hall and Sunrise Manor. Infiltration or exfiltration tanks or something, and that's where they're like big catch basins, I guess. And then that from there it went to the wetlands, and the wetlands treated it, and then from the wetlands it went into the water all treated. So that was a stormwater treatment project.
Anything else on that?
Wasn't that
year
part
on
of the
that?
20, wasn't that part in 2021? Where the water main and stormwater system and infrastructure on Cross Street?
I don't think we did much on Cross Street except bring one of the catch basins there at the top of the. I don't know if we got to Cross Street on that project, actually. I don't remember. It was mostly this side of Cross Street. There were three catch basins that we put together. Brought them over into the park between the town hall and Sunrise Manor.
That must be
It's
before
actually-
2021.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been is that where the weed pit over there came from? Did that come that part of that grant too?
The wetlands?
Yeah, yeah, the little thing over there by Brandy and
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
Oh,
that
yeah.
was part. Yeah, the pipe goes from there over to that from those infiltration over to those wetland things and then into the lake with some system that they have.
that had to be like,
Mm.
yeah, I think, I think I was on the select board.
I can dig it out when it was.
I think that like 18 maybe.
Yeah, it was a while ago now.
This isn't that long.
I know. It's funny how time flies. You're like, wow, this has been a long time ago now.
Are we finished with our discussion? Or are we still thinking about date?
I think the
He's gonna
fire
look-
station was around 2010, I believe,
Fire station?
give or take a year.
You know, put that in, give or take a year. That was safe, I suppose.
I'll narrow these down tomorrow. I'm going into the office. I'll look them up exactly when they were.
I used to put those down.
Joel, are you
Hey,
able to get into the draft as well?
The town plan draft?
Yeah,
Not that I know of. I haven't
because
tried.
I seem to be having trouble. I thought it was, I shared the link. James was able to get in, but
I
then
can get in.
everybody else had to request
It's
permission.
because of whatever email address you're sending to.
Okay,
So they have to have it's because it's Google. You have
okay,
to have your Google account has to use that email address. So if people
Oh.
are using something else, if they have a Google account, they have to give you that address to use. Because
okay.
Google demands that, or they make them set up a new Google account. Because that's what I had to do with was it that one or no, actually it was one that Nick, the road foreman, sent me because he sent it to Mike at brightonvt.gov, which is just a forwarder. It's not a real email address.
Yeah, okay,
So it wouldn't let me into it until I created a Google account for Mike at brightonvt.gov.
okay.
That's
'Cause-
what causes that issue.
Okay, was because in reality, I was creating documents in Word. And then I was uploading it into the Google Drive. And sometimes I get really unexpected formatting results.
Do you want me to? I could set up. I use OneDrive, which is Microsoft. So
Yeah.
I could create a folder for it and then share it to you and share it to everybody else.
Would I be able to just keep drafts
Where's
then
the-
in Word?
Yes,
Where is
yes.
the link?
You could just
Oh, that
and
would
you could
be
just upload
awesome.
them in there. So I'll create
That
that
would be
Right.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, that whole part is like.
because that's how we do Brighton Recreation.
I think that's when that,
You use
Okay.
OneDrive a lot.
I have OneDrive for
Nine.
everything. Yeah, actually, I use both of them. I have for personal. I have
they had done a study
OneDrive for
for the Lakeside Park Path, the expansion of the
I
town
have
hall.
found
So
it,
it would have been all
but I don't have it at all.
together with that stormwater. So you want to bet?
You can
Um,
log into it.
Another
I-
thing that think should
Makes
warrant,
sense.
maybe while we're talking about community projects
that?
like this,
Think
although
so?
we'd have better roads
Well,
projects
time-
almost every year and the
Who's
MRGP
talking?
projects, we did at one point have a category A study that laid out a long-term plan for priorities for improving our town road culverts. I mean, that's significant to me. Seems to me like that's something that an accomplishment of some sort that the road system is doing. I mean,
Yeah.
people don't pay attention to it, but that's what prevents flooding. So
Are you talking about the flood erosion inventory? Road erosion inventory?
I think that's it, Joe.
um,
I
it's a
think that-
category A better roads study, I think they called it.
Okay.
I mean, it just laid out when they started that VOB the state culvert
Yeah,
analysis. And we had a Better Roads grant and we laid out this, I don't know, it was a long document, and here's what we need to do first. This culvert's in critical, we had a whole book, this culvert's critical, this needs to be done first, then that culvert, stuff like that.
mhm.
Yeah, but we actually we've got that updated too. Because we
Yeah,
actually don't have to redo ours.
right. So it's just something that was done that was, to me, sounds like a benefit to the community at large.
Does that take the place of the road erosion inventory, or does it just inform it?
I believe it informs it, and now
Sorry?
it's kind of I believe it informs it.
Okay. Is that because it allows you better it's easier to comply with the general permit?
Yeah, it identified everything that we need that needed work, that was
Okay.
not going to be.
That, yeah. Yeah. The general permit's the MRGP program thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
The Municipal Grant and Aids Program.
yeah.
This was just like it said, okay, here's the worst culvert you have. Here's a picture of it. It's 12 inches. It should be 18 inches. You should make this improvement, make that improvement, and then, it's just down the list.
Right. It's what informs because that's what they go by now. When we apply for grants and aid, if the
Right.
culvert isn't on that inventory is needing work, they're not going to pay for it.
So it effectively becomes a capital plan.
Yes,
Okay.
because we update
It's a
it all
capital
the time.
plan.
And do you know the approximate year?
I could
I'm gonna-
find when
Oh,
that
but
one
I
was
could get
done. I just know we don't have to redo ours because I just went to apply for the grant for it and they were like, oh, you
Yeah.
already did yours. You don't need to.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Because we do it ourselves now. We don't have to hire a consultant to do it.
Okay.
How are we doing? Are we done with the discussion? Everyone good?
Mhm.
You like to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Have a second? Bill?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, adjourning at 6:55.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Alice.
Well, Allison,
Thanks.
Thank you,
Are you
Joe.
guys,
Thank you,
are you
Allison.
guys meeting on Bennington Battle Day?